Hello, Nasuh. How are you?
Thank you. Very good.
Great. So first off, how and why did you establish AKUT?
Well, in November 94, we had a mountaineering accident in Balkar-Toros Mountains, and two university students have been lost. During those days, there were no organized search and rescue team in Turkey. So when something like that happens, volunteer mountain climbers just go to the region with all their equipment, and spontaneously we get together there and we just do the organization, the rescue operation, just like that. And in that incident it worked the same way, but two people and two young people, 21, 22 years of age, kids, that was a big news for everybody. So many climbers went to the region, almost 100 people, and 14 days we searched for them in two groups, but we couldn't find them. And after that, a small group of climbers, myself and my friends, mountain climber friends, we just sat down and think about it. And we said we had some, we thought that in the future there will be more young people going into the wilderness, into the mountains, and as a result of this there will be more accidents. This was something that came up after that search and rescue operation in Balkar-Toros Mountains. And we decided to get organized for the future accidents, for the future problems in Turkey's wilderness environment. And the year 95, while we were trying to improve our capacity on search and rescue field, such as logistics, training, and equipment and things like that, we noticed another thing in 95, that Turkey has got a really bad history with natural disasters, such as earthquakes and floods. Every few years we have floods which cause really big problem in certain parts of Turkey. Every few decades we have mass destruction earthquakes. So when we noticed this reality, we decided that, okay, we are going to organize a search and rescue team working on a full volunteer basis. Why keep this only for the mountain and wilderness situations? Just let's work for the earthquakes, floods, and natural disasters as well, if a need arises. And in March 96, we officially founded AKUT with this purpose.
How large is the organization right now?
Well, in the beginning we were just 7 mountain climbers to organize this association, to found this search and rescue team, but now we have about 30 teams in 30 different locations of Turkey and about 1,400 volunteers.
Can you talk about the difference between quick disaster relief and disaster management? Specifically, why are prevention and preparedness important?
Well, if you look at the disaster management, you say there are two aspects of it: risk management and crisis management. Risk management is the most important thing. If you want to have a proper crisis management, you need to have a proper risk management before the crisis happens. And it is, you have to get precautions, preparations, and take action when the crisis happens, and then the rehabilitation phase. So search and rescue teams actually start once the crisis have happened. But if you work pre-planned before the earthquake or flood or whatever the disaster we're talking about, if we work before these things happen, we can do disaster mitigation activities, take some precautions, and prepare the community and everything. If you work with a proper risk management, then you will have less damage during your crisis management situation. So it's disaster management starts before the disaster strikes. If you don't do this, then just like in Turkey, unfortunately, if you don't do a proper disaster mitigation process and work before these disasters, then you can only do whatever you can do during the search and rescue efforts, and it's most costly, very costly, and also you lose many people, which you cannot return it back, and you lose a lot of money. Money is I mean, of course it's important, but you can return it somehow, but you lose lives and that is impossible to return it. And it is said that if you spend 1 unit of, let's say, US dollars before the earthquake happens during the risk management phase, you can save 36 times from the crisis management and the rehabilitation phase. And if you don't do this, then you have to pay 36 times more than the precaution cost.
In your opinion, what is most needed in Turkey in being better prepared for disasters?
Well, in Turkey, unfortunately, the situation is like that. We have so many buildings which are not made properly in the big cities, because the big cities take immigration all the time from the villages, from the Anatolia, from the towns, to the big cities, especially Istanbul, and it is said that maybe 80% of Istanbul is illegally built. So when you have, let's say, I think it's about 800,000 buildings which we're not sure about whether they are built according to the rules for a strong earthquake, for if they are made properly for the earthquakes or not, we're not really sure about that. So we have so many buildings which we do not know whether they're going to stand during a strong earthquake or not. And the population is overpopulated. Istanbul is really overpopulated, so many people, and so many buildings which we really do not know, and most probably some of them will not stand during an earthquake which might hit Istanbul. It's not only the Istanbul's problem in Turkey, unfortunately. Many major cities like that. Just recently we lived this Van earthquake, and more than 600 citizens have lost their lives, and many buildings have been damaged, some of them collapsed. So unfortunately Turkey's story is not very good on earthquake preparedness.
Some believe that disasters are neither natural nor inevitable, but are results of social, political, and economic factors. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, disasters are natural, definitely. Well, let me put it this way. Earthquakes and floods are natural, but turning them into a disaster is man-made. If you are properly prepared for the earthquakes or floods or whatever we're talking about before it happens, and really prepare yourself, get the precautions, and do everything according to the rules, let's say, then you will have less damage, and it's not going to turn into a disaster. Because by definition, when we're talking about a disaster means that the system and the power at your hand is not enough to deal with the incident. In this case, it becomes a disaster. If your ability, if your power, if your rescue teams, let's say, is enough for dealing with the earthquake, the effects of the earthquake, such as in the Van earthquake, we cannot say Van earthquake is a disaster. It's a destructive earthquake, but not a disaster. But 17th of August 99 earthquake is a mass destruction disaster, because Turkey's full capacity wouldn't be enough, and Turkey needed to get outside help from the world.